We're just testing.
I just have Jake on the phone,
Okay.
so. Jay, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone, but we're not.
We're good. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute it again and.
Anymore. They're more of a fleet car service, but Pacific is easy.
Thank everybody for coming. We're gonna start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Let's Just want to let everybody know Jake is joining us via phone tonight. He is traveling. And thank you, everybody, for being in attendance. Say that again?
Never mind.
I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Are you there, Jake? Thank you. That's 5-0. And we do not have any signed in visitors that want to speak, so we will move on to the organization of the board. I would entertain a motion or a call for nominations for chairperson.
I am nominating Pam.
Second.
All right, thank you. Is there any other nominations? All right, do we vote on each of those individually? All right, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. I am looking for nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Jake Dempsey.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Can I say nay?
I didn't call for that vote. Would you like me to?
I'm happy to give you this vote.
Okay, thank you. All right, I would call for a nomination for treasurer.
That's the other chair.
That would be Alicia Krantz.
I
Has
do
been.
Yep.
and nominate that Alicia Krantz be our treasurer.
Second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 And Alicia had mentioned that she was willing to continue in that role,
She
so.
doesn't have a choice. We just put her there.
Okay.
All right, and I would entertain a nomination for our board clerk.
I nominate and hope she will take it. God,
Gina Corrigan.
Gina.
Corrigan.
Harkin?
Second.
Corrigan, sorry.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we have an attachment there, if you guys look, for board meetings. Are they the second Monday of each month?
The second Monday except for January.
Except for January will be on Tuesday.
Which doesn't matter now because they went to a 12-game play or a 12-man playoff, so it doesn't matter.
So we can.
We can move that back to the
move it back to
12th.
Monday, just to keep them all the same.
We got to watch Monday Night Football.
That's true.
So did you get that, Gina, that they're requesting to move that back to Monday in January?
It was only a game for a quarter. Anyway.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion on that? or-
Yeah, there would need to be a motion
We'd need
to
to-
approve the dates.
Yeah.
We would need a motion to approve the dates and times.
And do we need to be specific about the January one because of the way? it's
Yes, we would
posted in
want
Assembly?
to say that with the adjustment for the January 2026 meeting.
Okay. So who wants to be brave and make that motion to accept all of those dates with the correction of January 2026 to Monday, the 12th instead of the 13th?
So I'll move that we set the time, date, and place for the regular meetings the second Monday of every month. And what was the Tuesday of the first month, or the second Monday, second meeting on January, move that back to the second Monday for January also.
So that'd be January 12th, yep.
Yeah.
2026. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda?
If I could make one note on the summary of the board evaluation, though it will be placed in the minute, that's just from last month, it would be placed in the minutes, but we will also attach it to the actual board meeting agenda so that it will be in two different places in
So
case some.
this meeting as well as last.
Yep, it'll be on the
in
minutes here.
Here and the agenda from last month, so that
Okay.
way, if wherever anybody's looking for it, it would be available.
Thank you.
Mark, I put it as a minutes last one.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that. All right. if there's no more discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's move on to our discussion items. We've got a couple student trip requests. And I'm not sure who's
Yeah,
gonna,
if I can address the FFA trip.
Please.
And then we have Dominic Conti from our band that'll address the music trip.
perfect.
That's all right. The FFA overnight trip to Garden City, which is just here in Boise, the Boise area. This is the FFA Leadership Conference that happens every year. We just have them stay overnight because the conference meetings go later into the night and early in the morning so that our students can participate fully over there. There's nothing that's changed from previous years as far as that conference goes. If you look at the FFA, well, actually, before I go on, any questions on that one?
And they're paying for that themselves.
Well, through the program, yes.
School and district funding.
Yeah.
Oh.
So then the Northern Utah trip, this is as a preparation for some of the state competitions. Competing against some of those going to Northern Utah gets a chance to compete against schools within the Utah region, which just prepares us better for our state competitions. It's in Brigham City. If you didn't see it, they added some additional information. So there should be about 3 or 4 pages there that they've got from originally what they had submitted. The total cost of the trip, $1,155, but the cost per individual student is $60. They funded the rest of that through their program fundraisers that they've done.
Nice.
So I just have a couple questions.
Please.
What she sent in on the first, when we got the first page.
Yes.
And then the second and third page, the fourth was okay.
Yeah.
But it says here 12 students, and then on this page it says 18.
Yes, it should be the 18 is the updated. They only knew for sure 12 when they first
Okay,
put it in, and so they updated that to the 18.
and we don't have how many girls, how many boys, or the list of students.
That is correct. Typically, we don't
Okay, if we
always
don't
have
have the students on there, yeah.
Yeah, why do we need that?
for the boys and girls, it helps us to keep track of the housing to make sure and the chaperones.
It's just her explanation didn't follow up, that's all.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so what they've typically done, they're taking the 18 students plus 2 chaperones. And there's a male and a female chaperone though, and so regardless of the balance, we have a chaperone for both genders.
Okay,
Ready to meet on that one.
okay.
And we don't typically put the students' names that are going. Sometimes
protect them.
we don't require that.
Well, it's just a lot of, everyone's in the last few years have had a list of, just like this one.
Right, but it wasn't something that's required within the.
That's just extra, I guess.
Oh, I guess,
the
okay.
policy, so,
I guess I was going off of what everybody else had done,
right,
so that's fine.
okay. Any other questions on the FFA trip to Northern Utah? Okay, Dominic, you want to talk about the music?
Yes. Hi, my name is Dominic Conti. I'm the director of bands at Middleton High School. So for this trip, we're taking 6 students. They auditioned in October. There's 1 band student and 5 choir students that were selected for the All-State, the IMEA All-State Honor Band choirs. There are 6 different performing ensembles they can participate in, one of 6 of them. There's 3 choirs, an orchestra, and then 2 different bands. These students are going to be working with high caliber conductors to help expand their skills and play with students from all around the state. So Middleton has been participating in this over several different, for over decades. This year, just so you can kind of know, the conductor for the bands is Dr. Travis Cross. He is the professor of music and director of bands at UCLA for the bands. For the mixed choir, which we have students selected in, from Mr. Turner's choirs, is Ethan Sperry. He's the Barry Stoll Professor of Choral Music at Portland State. And then also for the treble choir, which is typically your all-female choir, is being conducted by Coty Raven Morris. She is the Assistant Professor of Choir and Music Education and Social Justice at Portland State University. So these students get the opportunity to really work with these professionals. And this is a very selective, they have to audition, it's been screened, and which is a huge task for them, and it's a really exciting moment for them. I want to thank Superintendent Gee and Principal Hollinger is helping us finance this, because it's just super important. They're helping cover the tuition for the music purchase and all that stuff, and the transportation and the housing for them, which is super important because this is kind of like a state for an activity for sports. It's kind of where that is. We also have the All Northwest that happens. We actually had one student, the same flute student, actually selected for the All Northwest honor band a couple weeks later, which is a huge honor for her. That's very selective.
And the All Northwest covers which states?
That covers Idaho. You're testing here. Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Wyoming, Montana, and Alaska.
Cool.
And Idaho, it's based off of IMEA, which is the Idaho Music Educators Association. It's based off our membership, so Idaho actually has the fewest spots available. So it's a very honor for her to be selected for that group. So she'll be going to that one as well. Timeline-wise for these students, when we leave on the 21st, we'll get up there, they'll go immediately into part checks where they will test to make sure that they're prepared and ready to go. And it's 2 days of full-on rehearsals with the IMA chaperones. This is also in conjunction with the Idaho Music Educators Professional Development. So for Mr. Turner and myself, we'll be in professional developments specific for music educators, which I think was on there, was a list of all the different ones, which is our schedule. We get to pick. There's an ensemble. It's a huge, amazing thing for us to be able to go do, to meet with like teachers from all across the state. And then they will perform, the mixed choir performs on Friday, and then Saturday, the treble choir and the band will perform there, and then we'll return home that night after the performances have been completed. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'm,
Thank you.
And for supporting those students. We
Yeah.
We're
appreciate
very
it.
excited.
and I'm just happy that you're able to go to some of those have stuff for teachers to.
Yeah, they have chaperones there for the students, so we don't actually have to, while they're in rehearsals, they provide lunches. That's part of the fees that we paid, that the district helped pay for, was lunches and just all the different things for these students to have that great advantage. It does alternate, so right now we're up in the north, we'll be back down here at NAU, and then the year after that we go to Pocatello. So it alternates, so
Just like normal state
yeah.
adventures
Yes,
for
and it's
sports.
something
Same
super,
thing.
yeah, so we're very grateful for the district to support those students and expanding their music. It's a great honor for them, so.
Well, thank
anything
you.
else? Yeah, anything else?
Nope,
Nice
you
to
are
meet
good.
Thank you, thank you guys.
Nice
Thank
to meet
you.
you. Thank you for coming.
All right. Good things happening. All right, let's hear some more good things, Mrs. Goodson.
I kind of feel like I need to reintroduce myself. It's been a
No,
while.
we're glad to see you though.
Yes, it's great to be back. I wanted to provide the board an update on this year's curricular resource adoption. It is for the core content area of ELA. We will also be looking at our EL needs as well. So if you'll scroll, Lisa, I want to just kind of give an overview of where we're at curricular-wise within all of our content areas. So ELA is in phase one, where we review our curriculum documents, we look at resources, and then make a core recommendation. When we go into phase two, which this is what we adopted last year, social studies, health, PE, fine arts, humanities, world languages, there's staff development, first year of implementation, and making any adjustments necessary. And then the following years 3 through 5 into phase 3, where we just continue to make, monitor, and adjust. So you kind of see that whole cycle play out next year. We will be looking at science. That one's the next one on the docket. So this year it's ELA. For the fall and the winter, We have been working with working groups of teachers on the standards, pieces of things that drive our resource adoption. Our state recently released some essential standards as guidance. And so we've been teasing through all of that. Our teachers have been working in working groups to include, we worked with yesterday with 1 and today with 2, 3. We've got teachers from every building and including our special ed teachers as well to be part of that discussion. When we look at resources, we will be looking at tier 1, 2, 3, and special education, as well as how to best serve our EL student needs. So then moving into
Could you really quick just
Yeah.
tell the group what EL is?
Oh, English language learner. Yeah. So both on the acquisition end of learning English and on supporting the general education classroom where they're learning the content. So working through both lenses for our students. Yeah. Thank you. And then late February, early March, we will be pulling our committee together. It's comprised of 50% teachers, 50% parents, per state code. And I'm hoping to bring a recommendation to the board in the April meeting.
Very good, thank you.
Are there any questions about that adoption piece?
Nope, I have sat through some of your meetings and you do a very great job.
You would be very proud of the teachers that we have in our working groups.
Yeah.
It's been such a blessing to work with. Kate, looking for you the last 2 days.
Good,
I sit there and I say we're blessed to have them.
yes, it's good.
Conversation is very rich.
That's awesome.
Does the EL, does that include learning English as a second language, or is that?
Yeah.
It does, okay.
Yeah, our students who are, that's not their native language. And so they come in at various levels and we assess them to determine what level of English proficiency they're at, and then we service them in the appropriate way.
Okay. Do you know as roughly as a percentage in our school district, how many students have English as a second language?
I wouldn't want to misrepresent the number, but I can get that one to you.
I'm just curious. I've had people ask me, I know in the valley, it varies so widely, and
It does.
yeah, that's interesting because those students have so many more, such a steep climb for them. So it really affects everything as far as test scores and everything else. So I'm just really
Absolutely.
curious about that. Thank you.
Okay,
All right,
unless they're looking at they may be looking at the number for me.
You gonna try and get it? I'm trying to get it too. But you could keep going and move.
Okay, 3%.
3%?
3%, wow.
I was.
Yeah, I
gonna say
didn't,
2%, so I wasn't
yeah,
that far.
I didn't think we
A
were,
lot different than Caldwell Valley.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Do you wanna go to the, well, I guess I'll let.
Yep, nope, move on.
Let Pam.
We are ready to move on to some more items from you.
Yeah, I wanted to share with you a little mid-year data review. So we've taken 2 different assessments, or 2 different windows, so fall and then right again before holiday break. And so when we look at our K-8 iReady reading, you're going to see where we started at in the window 1, which would have been the fall, in our tiers 1, 2, and 3, and where we're at ahead of winter break. So
Okay.
increase in our tier 1, decrease in tier 2, and decrease in tier 3. So these are data points that we also look at. I'm gonna tie this back to the ELA adoption. When we say resources for tier 1, 2, and 3, we are looking at the data in a more granular way for what we need to support all of those levels.
Mhm,
Because of course, we want to see that tier 3 come down.
yes.
Do you wanna go on to math? So this is our second year in our math implementation. So Bridges at the elementary schools and Carnegie / CPM at the secondary level. And so you're gonna see, we went from 23% in window 1 to 40%,
Mhm,
tier 1.
even tier 3 is amazing to me.
And we really focused, making sure that, especially at the elementary level,
They
we've
went
got
from 28 to 18.
the Bridges intervention that goes along with the core program.
Yeah. so.
And then when we are looking at iStation, so this is just K3. And this is the assessment that the state uses in both August and May. We have the opportunity to give this assessment monthly. So the ones in between don't necessarily count for state purposes, but you'll be able to see, here we were in August of this year.
I was trying to make it big enough for.
You're good. I'm getting a glare off of it. So kindergarten was at 69% in tier one, we're at 66%. So obviously need to dive into why we're not seeing the same proficiency level. 63% to 66% in first grade, 62% to 66% in third grade, or in second grade, and 65 to 70% in third grade. And we still have half the remainder of the year to go. This was pulled in for the November data, not the December
Okay.
data. And so they're in the middle of testing right now for the January window. So when it comes to the interventions and what we're doing in response, when we get this data in August, I reached out to each of the administrators, and I'm just gonna give a summary of where we're at. At the K3 level, we have a partnership with Reading Corps. And Reading Corps is providing reading tutors in each of our elementary schools. And those students are getting specialized interventions. And so that has been a great partnership. That's something that everyone mentioned. We have focus groups 4 days a week for both math and reading, where the students receive interventions targeted on the skills that they need to work on. And our RTI teams at each level meet regularly to
Nice.
review that data. At the secondary level, when they receive that assessment data, they are also looking at whether or not we have the appropriate class placement for those students, because we don't want to wait and then realize, oh, they may need more supports, they may need a seminar class or something like that. So they are responding immediately when they see that data.
Good. Thank you.
Any questions?
Is this a state test that they take,
Which one?
the iReady, the younger
iStation?
iStation.
iStation?
Yes, that is the state's IRI.
That's the state's IRI. Can a district do what something they feel is a better, go with a different,
Well, we still are responsible for
Giving
going,
the information.
giving them that, well, they would still be responsible to take that test, but we do more than what we have to do because it gives us more data points throughout the year. So if we had looked at it and said, we think that a different assessment would give us better information, we could adopt that assessment and do that, but we would still be responsible to take like the ISAT and the iStation, the IRI, yes.
So they
go
do
ahead.
that. So our K3 takes both iReady and iStation. iReady is the district assessment that our teachers find valuable as it gives them that instructional data. And they also take the iStation one. We've gone back and forth in working with our teachers and looking and saying, well, do we, on the months that we don't test, or that we have iReady, we don't necessarily require them to do iStation. That's a lot of testing for those kids. Our teachers like to use iStation because it is what the state utilizes. And so they want those data points in between to see that if their kids are progressing or not.
I just worry that it doesn't show progress enough. And I need to sit down and talk with you about
Yeah.
that.
I'm giving you high level tier data.
Yeah,
Our teachers can drill down farther
okay,
into that data, into each subtest
okay,
to determine how best to serve the student.
okay. I'll get
Yes,
with you.
absolutely.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes.
Please don't leave again.
I hope not.
All right, let's move on to the 21st Century Learning Center grant proposal.
If I could turn the floor over to Dory Reed, she's been heading up this project for us.
Very good, thank you.
Hello, I'm Dory Reed. I'm one of the instructional specialists within the district. At the moment, I'm working very closely with a group of teachers and administrators to apply for the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant. The grant is a 5-year grant awarded by the Idaho Department of Education, and Middleton was actually a recipient in previous years. I'm not quite sure of the exact years.
Up to 18, wasn't it? Like 13 to 18?
Okay. This grant provides us with the opportunity to receive funds for programs that would be held outside of school hours for our elementary and middle school students. With it, we would create community learning centers that provide academic support as well as enrichment opportunities. The grant would also be used to fund family engagement activities and parent involvement opportunities during the school year. One of the requirements of the grant are partnerships within the community. Dr. Gee has already established a great partnership with Middleton Rec. He has others in the works, including the YMCA and other educational attractions around the Treasure Valley. We sent out a survey to parents and guardians of our 3 elementary schools and the middle school, and there was a strong desire for after school, Friday, as well as summer programs, summer being a requirement of the grant. Parents are interested in the academic piece, but they were more interested in the possibility of enrichment activities at little or no cost to them. The grant would provide them at no cost. Outdoor activities being number 1 on their list. The timeline for the grant, it's due on January 31st, and decisions will be announced in April. Currently, within the working group, we're finalizing a schedule that works for Middleton and the centers that we'll utilize so that we can design our program. Anything to add?
Well, I would just say one of the reasons to bring this to you as a board now, prior to the actual application, is that if the team was awarded the grant, the board would have to formally accept those funds at that point. But to make sure that we're not, putting a lot, because it opened up right before the Christmas break, and it's due on January 30th. It's a lot of work that goes into it. If there were concerns that the board had, it would be a good time to go forward to share those concerns. And so we actually just listed this as a possible action item to approve the application. That still gives you an opportunity if once what we've actually submitted, and if we were awarded the grant, you still have to take another action at that point. But that just gives the group that's working on it
That we're behind you.
that the board's behind, and we can actually put that in as part of our grant application, that the board has supported this and show that action within. It's just another evidence point to try and help push that application, because it is a pretty competitive.
Oh, I'm sure it's competitive,
grant.
especially in today's.
Is there a dollar amount that we'll be asking for or applying for?
We're not sure on the exact
Yeah.
dollar amount, but the awards range anywhere from 50 to 200,000 a year
Per year
5
for
years.
5 years.
Wow,
Yep.
that's
Two
amazing.
is the maximum.
So
It could be up to $1 million.
That's amazing, yeah. And that would be, we would be doing all 3 things: after school, summer, outdoor
Yep.
stuff with that.
Yeah, possibly before school, Middleton Rec has offered to open up their facility to our students. And transportation would be provided before and after, even on Fridays and summer school, as well as a snack and possibly breakfast and lunch.
Nice.
That sounds great.
Thank you for working on that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Nice to meet you as
Nice to
well.
meet you. Thank you.
All right. Do we want to combine E and G?
E and G, yeah. If you're good, I'll address
Yep.
both of those.
Please
first.
do. Yep.
Do you mind bringing up the superintendent evaluation documents? So it's the time of year for you as a board to evaluate me as a superintendent, and what I'm doing for the district, for the teachers, for the students. And part of that is a formal evaluation process. It's similar to what you've done in the previous years. if you look at this superintendent evaluation, can we go to the score sheet first? Here are the different areas that you would be rating me on. You can see school culture, communication, advocacy, shared leadership, priority management, transparency, leadership renewal, accountability, innovation, instructional vision, and then continuous improvement of instruction and evaluation. Now, on the other document that you have in your packet, it's a, do you mind going to that? Just a kind of the rubric for each of those categories. So it helps you as a board member look through and say, okay, here's how I would rate based on the rubric, what would be expected in those areas. And I share that with you just as these are some of the things that you would be looking to evaluate me on. Over the next month, there'll be some things that you might want to know. If there's things that I can share, those are things you can reach out to me directly. If there's other information, you can reach out to Gina and she can get that information from other sources, so that it's obviously I'm going to try and give you the best scenario, but I'm honest in what I give you to my appraisal. Another thing that will be available, we'll get you access to through Gina is currently we're doing the surveys for all the principals. We'll do supervisors this next round next week. And then after that, surveys for myself and Mrs. Pennington. When you do the evaluation, Gina will make sure that you have access to those survey results so that you can see what the staff is saying in terms of the different areas. We've tried to connect those areas with different areas within these domains so that you can use that as part of your evaluation. But another thing that we haven't done before, and I just wanted to discuss here, is on item E, it's a district report. And what we've talked about doing is putting together kind of an annual report of kind of the state of the district type thing, where I would share with you and the things that I've got on my list. And what I would like to do is share with you what I'm already planning on sharing with you. And then if there are other areas you'd like me to come prepared with in February to share with you and share with the district, I can prepare that for our February meeting. You have the things I'm planning is a summary of our student academic performance. I'll be taking the data that Mrs. Goodson has been sharing with us throughout the year and putting that together in one place. The student extracurricular performance across our activities, our sports, our arts, our band, how that's going within our district. Facility planning, talking about our buildings, what we've seen going, what we have on the docket. Support that's come in from donations and grants. Want to give you a summary of what's gone on there. The financial planning, give a report of kind of where we're at that point in the year financially. But those are kind of the big general areas that I'm planning to produce as a report for you for next month. But are there other areas, other things you'd like to see as part of that report, so that I can make sure and have that information for you as well?
As part of this district.
As that district, yeah, as that district report.
That's a lot of information
You
already.
kind of covered a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be a high level. We're not going to be, but if there is nitty gritty, if there are details you're wanting to see, I want to make sure that you're able to get that information, because if you have the questions, it's likely that our patrons have those questions.
Maybe
as well.
enrollment numbers and out of district and
Yep.
in district.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
district, we haven't.
Especially in light of the new legislation.
Well, yes, we don't have control of that. We have to take them if we have room,
But
so.
I can give a report on that.
But that
for
would be
sure.
good, yes, that would be good to know.
Anything else that you'd like me to include? I tried to be pretty comprehensive. so.
Yeah, that's a lot.
No, I think
That's a
it's,
lot.
yeah,
Okay, and if there is something that you find that you're thinking, oh, I wish I would have said that, just shoot me an email. I'll make sure that it's part of what I bring.
perfect.
Okay, any questions on if you have questions on the evaluation documents and what you need to do, Gina's your person. She'll walk you through that.
That's essentially the same rubric as last year.
Yes, it hasn't changed.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the fun one, the new elementary bond.
Okay, do you want to bring that document up?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Oh, right there.
Sorry. I'm just-
Yeah, so we got a hard copy for you there.
Awesome.
But just wanted to kind of give an overview of the things that we'll be looking at as we present to our community about the new elementary bond. The first kind of official announcement we put in the Gazette, January's Gazette, so it's out there right now. There's an article in there essentially saying, and I think this is kind of what we're trying to make sure we're communicating with our patrons is, we heard you when we ran that last bond. We had 53% support on that bond, not enough to get it passed, and so we asked a lot of questions, and since then, we've done a lot of things to try and adjust. We had a CTE building that was part of that, and for a lot of people that was important, but for others, that was something that said, well, I'm not going to vote for that because of the CTE. I feel like the money should be used elsewhere. So we adjusted how we were going to approach our CTE. We're still moving forward with growing our CTE programs. We were able to get grants and donations for a CTE building that we're going to build here, those kind of things. So we heard that and said, okay, we're going to narrow that bond down to, we're just going to go for this elementary school. We heard just the overall cost. It was a big cost. And when we first tried for that elementary as a district back in 2015, that building would have cost $15 million to build. That same building, with the costs as they escalated in 2022, was $28 million. So as a board and what we've tried to do, we've reevaluated our builders, we've reevaluated our architects, and not that Benetton and Design West didn't do a great job for us for all those years, but we felt like we needed to go evaluate that process, and ended up with LKV and ESI helping us to bring a different design. That design, we've tasked them with finding design and ways to cut the cost so that that's not a $28 million building. We've looked at $8 million, $8 million you as a board have approved from those school modernization funds to go to that elementary school, with the idea of trying to get that total cost and what we put in front of voters under 20 million. Now that's still a lot of money, but that's a far cry from the 50 million that we were asking the last time. And so we heard, we're bringing it down. And so that was the message of that first Gazette article. We're working on a video that we can put out to our patrons that shares that information. But then it's making sure that our community understands both the needs that we see. Our enrollment numbers are still, we've kind of plateaued, but we've got 145%, roughly 145% of capacity at Heights, 115% of capacity at Mill Creek. That's a lot of kids that are over capacity, and that's something that's only going to grow. We've hit a plateau right now, but we've still got thousands of lots that are available to build on. And the City of Star is looking at approving not just the one that we're looking at on Kingsbury, but there's others within the Star address code that is part of Middleton School District. And they're gonna, as those are built, those are gonna bring kids. And so we feel like that's something that needs to be done. So that's the messaging that we're trying to do, but we're also looking at, we've got a community group that's starting to form. They're gonna be looking at that first meeting to gather and start planning for the things that they'll share with the community. They're looking at that next week. So if there's people that you know of that would like to help with that, They've got a meeting next week. It's going to be at the Grace Bible, the house they own. Grace Bible Church owns a house across the street over here. They're going to be hosting that. Yeah, on the 21st at 7:00. So if there are people that you know that you'd like to, that have expressed an interest in helping the campaign, that would be something. And the community group is going to kind of take a lot of things that we can't, at least I can't as a superintendent do. There's things I can't go out and say, please vote yes. I mean, I can say it, but I can't produce materials and distribute, vote yes. But the community group can. And so they'll be looking at it. The Snake River Building Contractors Association, they're willing to help us raise money for that committee as well. And then we're looking at ways to increase our voter registration through our PTOs. We've got some plans for our basketball games and wrestling meets through January and February that are places where we can encourage the voter registration. March and April, you've got baseball and softball games as well as with our PTO. And there will be, as other opportunities arise, we'll include those there. Within the website, we're going to try and have the website just be kind of the repository of all the information so that when people have a question, that's where we can direct them. But everything that's generated there will be after it's been produced in some kind of official. So once we have things produced in this meeting, and for instance, in February, our builders and architects are going to come and kind of present to you as a board, here's what we're proposing for you to communicate with your patrons. So once we've done that officially here in this board meeting, then it will go on to the website. Once the board has approved wording in March, because in March we have to have the wording for the ballot. Once we have that wording in the board meeting, then it goes on to the website and will be used in other materials that we produce for the district. We'll start talking about tax impact and state assistance as we get closer to the actual date, because we won't have that exactly firm and the exact numbers until after the board approves it in March. So once we've approved that ballot language, then we'll have the exact numbers that we can share. Social media will be, I've got a meeting with our social media director tomorrow to lay out because we'll have it all laid out, sharing different pieces of information as we go along that again match what I was describing. Once we've shared something in some kind of official capacity, then we get it out in social media. We're going to be talking voter registration through social media. We're going to be talking, we've got some podcast people that run podcasts that have expressed interest in giving us a platform to share on their podcast. So we'll be working through those as well. As we get closer to March and April, we're going to be talking early voting. One of the things we're going to be looking at is the vote date is May 20th, and it's that last week of school. It's going to be a crazy time for a lot of families. And so we're going to try and help them look at early voting and absentee voting as an option if they know that it's going to be crazy already that week. And so we're going to try and help them get that information out. We've got the dates for those, and we'll put those out in hard copy. I mean, a lot of that is digital, but in hard copy, we'll have Gazette articles in January, March, and May that will go out that talk about the bond. Like I said, we already have the one in the January. And then in February and April, both at the end of February and April, we'll have a hard copy newsletter that will mail out to our all the patrons, and that's the kind that will go to everybody. And that's one where we have to keep it at just information. That's not one that we can say you should vote yes or anything like that. It's just, here's the information. We're looking for an elementary school. This is how big we're looking. This is the cost. Here's how it would impact you tax wise. and just have that information. Here's where you can get more information. Here, you'll have things about where some of the different meetings are. We're gonna look at some in-person larger group type meetings that we'll hold at some of our schools and we've looked at possibly doing down at Trolley Station for some of those where we give overviews and give people opportunities to come and ask questions. Our architects and builders will be part of those meetings. And so we'll hold those starting in February as we move into April. But then as we move into March, April, May, we'll be transitioning more to doing the smaller cottage meetings, and we'll be trying to get as many of those going as possible, where we've got people that, if we can get 10 to 15 people in a home that are willing to come and talk about it, we can really get down into answering questions that they might have that they might not be willing to ask in a larger group setting, but they would do it with just a few of their neighbors. And so we're going to be putting those meetings together. And then as we get right into May, one of the things that Valley View found very successful is they passed their bond a year ago. They found that making specific in-person live telephone calls to parents who are voters, that are registered voters. And again, it's not something that we would be saying, you have to vote yes. The community group can do their thing and they can do have those conversations, but we would be looking at making those calls and just saying, do you remember that we've got this vote? Have you registered? If you haven't registered, here's how. And then giving them an opportunity to answer questions and, leaving messages when we can and that kind of thing. So we'll be working through, they've given us kind of a template with how they structure that. And it was just trying to make sure they got information out. And I think that was something that we've really tried to do is we want you to vote. And obviously as a group, we want people to vote yes on this. But we want them to have make an educated vote. We respect the right of everybody to make the vote that they're going to make, but we want to make sure that when you make that vote, it's an educated vote. So you know exactly what it means. And as we go through this, we'll keep developing those alternate plans that if the bond were not to pass, here's how we would be addressing that so that that's communicated clearly to our group as well. So that's kind of the big picture of the things that are going to go on, but there's a lot of little things that go on with that as well. And then, like I said, the community group, they'll have their own. They may look at putting signs together. That we can't, purchase signs with district funds to do that, but a community group that's working off of donations can. And so they may choose to go down that road, but that's for the community group. And so what I end up doing with the community group is just providing them the information. I don't direct them on what they should or shouldn't do. They ask questions and I provide them the information so that they can go out and do that.
So is there somebody that, if anybody asked to help, is there a person in the community group?
Right now, we have two that are leading that.
Okay.
Steve Clough is one, and then Jason Boyd is another. And they're willing to take that. We have a third person that's probably willing. They haven't confirmed with it yet, so I don't want to throw that name out there yet.
So we can just tell them about their first. This
first meeting is 7:00 at the Grace House. I don't know what they call it. It's their house that the Grace Bible Church owns across the street here.
Yeah.
By the empty lot.
Yeah, by the empty lot. Yep. Any questions, suggestions, concerns with kind of how we're planning to move forward?
Is the ambulance and the fire department, do they still have a bond that's going to be on?
They have not officially said, but what I've heard is that there is a plan to go forward with it. So that would be on the same ballot that we're looking at.
We'll have to look into see what the total impact cost wise, because that makes it a little steeper hill for
Yeah,
us
it does.
with that there. But another question is on that design that will come out, and I know those guys will be here for the next
Yeah.
meeting. Are they doing a design with that 20 million basically as the target, or is that?
Their target is 25 million right now.
Okay,
Now, to get 72,000 square feet and to have all the pieces that we would like to have programming wise,
Yeah,
it may be a stretch to get there, but that was the goal that we gave them. Because if they're able to hit it at 25 million, then the 8 million that you as a board have authorized makes it so that we can get it down to 17 million
yeah,
rather than just right under 20. But we know that there's going to be there's a good possibility there'll be some flexibility in there that they're going to be looking for, but they've been gearing their minds towards that 25 million target.
it's interesting. Of course, the actual costs are really difficult because those go up and down.
Right.
and our high school debt will be done.
The high school, by the time it's actually constructed, the high school debt will be done, but you'll have 2 or 3 years of overlap. That because if the patrons approves the bond, they'll start paying on that bond that next taxing year. And so you'll have 2 or 3 years that it would be that overlap. But then after that, it would drop off significantly. And that's one of the things that we'll be talking about as we get into those March and April timeframes. Because it's not just the high school dropping off that's going to have a tax impact. It's the other state property tax relief bills that have already been passed that are going to have an impact on that as well.
Yes.
That are already having an impact on the tax bill from the schools because they've allocated dollars that go to the schools
the
to
bond.
pay off
Yeah.
that. And then when we get those dollars, we don't have to ask it of our patrons. And so we'll be laying out what that impact is so that people can have a view of this is what will be with those taxes, with those property tax relief bills. This is what it will be with the high school on it, and this is what it will be once the high school drops off.
Nice.
And then as every house gets built, that increases
It increases the tax base and lowers the
Divisor,
amount that
yeah.
everybody has to pay.
It's
Correct.
a bigger divisor, yeah.
And that's a big variable because there's all these thousands of approved lots, but we're not seeing a lot of them be built on right now.
Right. Well, and I think another thing we need to help people understand, and this is something that a lot of our patrons don't understand, is that our Middleton School District encompasses from Canada Road all the way across the freeway and from the river
Yeah.
all the way up to Gem County line. And so, you have in Middleton School District, you have parts of Caldwell, Notice, Middleton, Canyon County, and Star. And so all of those, but if they live within our school district, regardless of what city they're in, they are paying towards the Middleton School District bonds and
Yep.
levies. And so it's important for people to understand that even because one of the things we're looking at that property on Kingsbury, which is a much cheaper place to build than up on Meadow Park Boulevard. But that's going to have a star address, but even though it's going to have a star address, it's part of Middleton School District. And all of those people around them are going to be paying those taxes to Middleton School District.
Yeah.
So,
And that's a lot of different zip codes.
yeah.
Yeah. That's-
Yeah.
That's the world we live in now. It's okay.
Any other questions or concerns on how we're proceeding?
No, I appreciate all the work you're putting into it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people putting the work in, so
I appreciate it.
good team.
Impressive. Absolutely.
But I would say this, it would be nice if the state would just build the schools. Then we could spend
Right?
time doing other things
That would
for
be nice.
educational
I
purposes.
would like that, but if they would agree, I would agree.
Amen.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Thank you. Let's move on to, does anyone else have any questions? Assignment of board members for negotiation. Is that multiple board members or just board members?
Just one board member. And that's just, we've looked at, the possibility, Middleton Education Association is looking at a way to make it so that we're not doing negotiations into June and July. And so we're looking at trying to get everything that's not a dollar, something that's waiting for the legislature to end, get all of that taken care of in some negotiating meetings prior, so that when the legislature is done, we can make our decisions based on the new financial reality, and it just be the dollars that we have to deal with then. That's the goal. And so knowing who that board member is going to be would be helpful.
Who wants to do it?
Crickets, right?
I don't mind doing it,
I
but,
don't know if you can because you have a daughter-in-law
Oh.
that works in the district.
oh,
Sorry. That's the only
didn't think
problem
about
there,
that.
yeah. You couldn't make those
Okay.
I mean,
You would have to recuse.
you can, but we might get in trouble, I
Okay.
guess. Let's put it that way. Oh, Jake, we're here, we're told that we should nominate you. Are you there?
I'm there, but I'm not there.
You know, I've been doing it. I'll just do it. It's fine. I don't mind if anyone else. I mean, I know Jay and Derek are.
I second
Just put me down. It's fine.
When I retire, I'll volunteer for a lot more.
It's okay. But I like that we're gonna start early.
Yeah.
That makes it nice, so we don't have 10 meetings in 2 weeks.
Right.
That's nice. All right, with that being said, let's go move on to policy. Mrs. Pennington, it's all you.
Perfect. 2420 is where we'll start. That's the parent and family engagement. If you,
Can
last
you
year,
make your
oh, yes.
thing a little bigger before you? Thank you.
Yeah. This is a policy that we bring before you guys every year. It's federal guidelines with our title program says that we need to make sure the board reviews this policy every year. In working with our federal programs director, Cindy Hutchison, there's really no suggested changes to this policy or this procedure. So it's more of a matter of fact to make sure that it's put in front of you. And if you have questions, we can answer those. If there's changes that you guys would like to recommend, we can always bring that forward to another reading. If there aren't changes, then we would recommend going ahead and moving these forward tonight, back to the policy.
oh, the second
With-
reading?
Yeah, with these 2420s, because there aren't any
Just an
changes to
annual
them.
policy
And it's
review.
an annual review, we could just push those through tonight back
I
into
see.
policy if we wanted to. And if you're not comfortable with that, we can go to another reading.
That's fine. I just would like to have Cindy maybe come and present
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
what the plan looks like.
For the family engagement plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, how the title, I know it's not been okayed yet as far as the plan, but somewhere down the road, maybe she could come and talk about the plan itself as well as the parents.
Meaning the whole federal program plan?
Yes,
So
yeah,
the, what's called the CFSGA, which is the Consolidated Federal and State Grant Application. Is that what you're
Yeah,
referring to?
well, and just letting the board kind of know how the teachers work with parents, what the Title
Oh, so
I,
more like the Title I plan that we have.
more or less, yes,
Okay.
about Title I and
Lisa,
how
would
it,
you mind
Yep.
working with Cindy to get that put together?
Yep.
Thank you.
I think it'd just be helpful.
So people understand what Title I
Yeah.
is. Yep. Okay. So, do you want to go on or do you guys want to, your recommendation is just to move it to policy?
Yeah, it is. And we can go through them and then we can do 2 separate motions if you guys want to as well. Or we can just do it now.
We can just do it now. I would entertain a motion to move policy 2420 and 2420 PR to policy. But I can't do it. One of you has.
I'm trying to get to it.
I move that we adopt policy 2420 and policy 2420 PR, or approve them as policy.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. You there,
Aye.
Jake? Thank you. All right, let's move on.
So 3500F, we did bring this before you not too long ago, with a lot of the revisions, but there's been some more updates to this. And so this change, it's the form that we would send to parents as we do school registration.
Mm-hmm.
And the changes now are the required dyslexia screening, that was discussed requires parent permission. So they're removing that because there's been a change in policy 2415. And then just updating some of the other requirements that have come forward. And so it did add on those signature lines for the parents as well. So not a lot of changes here, but just a few more changes as they continue to make the adjustments that were done from last legislative session.
The notice of health services, is
Yes,
that the one you talked about?
yeah,
It had that on there?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea. to
And so
take it off.
this is a first reading. We can continue to move this forward to next month as well. Any questions? Okay. And then the last first reading, 3516, is just the epinephrine. So we do now, we've been working to be able to have epinephrine in all of our schools. And so before it was just if a parent brought it in, but we do now have it housed in our schools. Our nurses are trained, we have staff trained. And
Nice.
so by adopting this policy, it just covers us as far as that procedure and if we need to use that. So that's the purpose for making sure we have this in front of you,
What's your recommendation on that one?
to just move it forward to a second reading.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions, anybody? All right, before we go on to the second reading policy, I would entertain a motion to move policy 3500F and 3516 to a second reading.
I move that we move policy 3516 and
3500F.
there it is, sorry, it's not in the same place, 3500F to a second reading.
second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Second
Okay,
reading.
so last policy, it's the second reading of the student-owned electronic communication devices. There have not been any changes from the first reading to the second reading, but we are continuing to garner feedback. And we especially want to focus on getting feedback from our elementary schools as we continue to move forward with this policy. There's just been questions a lot around like smartwatches, how do we handle that? How do we
Mhm.
handle other communications?
In the elementaries?
Oh, yeah.
So we just want to make
Call
sure
home.
that it's clear and everybody's on the same page as we continue to move forward. So not changes currently, but just continuing to get that feedback and then we'll bring it back next month for a third reading.
Okay.
So you are getting feedback from parents and
Well,
students,
primarily right now, just our staff,
teachers, and
but we can reach out to some of those parents as well.
that's good that you're getting info on this, because if I had my say, I'd say none at all there, but anyway.
Well, and it's really none at all within the classroom right now. What we're looking at is those spaces where it's,
Yeah.
where it's kept, where students are, having free time.
And
That's
some-
really
and
what
some
we're trying
parents
to address.
Need the comfort to know that they can contact their child, I think, in today's world. I know
Okay,
that,
let's
does that
just say
make sense?
today's
In
world.
today's world, I think that there are some parents that makes them feel better, that they can have direct access with their kids.
But it's consistent within the classroom.
Yes.
that we're keeping it out.
Just figuring out what that looks like, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so your recommendation is to move it to a third reading.
Correct, yes.
All right, I would entertain a motion for that.
I move that we move policy 3265 to a third reading.
Second,
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, let's move on to our action items. Can we do all of the trips at once?
Yeah.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve all those trips. Do we need to be specific with them?
I think it would be worth outlining each trip so that if there is somebody that would like, a board member that would like to have a discussion about an individual trip, they could pull that one out.
Perfect.
so just basically. I move that the FFA overnight trip request to the Leadership Conference in Garden City and the FFA out-of-state competition trip to Utah, and the All-State Honor Band and Choir overnight trip to Lewiston, Idaho be approved.
Second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 And I would entertain a motion to approve or deny the district employees to apply for a 21st Century Learning Center grant.
I make a motion, we approve the district employees to apply for the 21st Century Learning Center.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, I would entertain a motion for someone to read exactly what it says on number 11 so that we can go into executive session.
I move that we go into executive session as per section 74-206, paren 1, paren B, Idaho Code, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
There a second?
Second?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Go ahead, Gina.
Trustee Moore,
Yes.
trustee Dempsey,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes,
trustee Powell,
Yes.
trustee Clark.
Yes.
thank you. We are in
Is there any?
executive.
There are some signatures there.
Yeah, students, come up and get your signatures on your agendas. Thank
Sorry.
you, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drive safely